Jessie, turn it over to you.
How Kathleen, Sinta Jigatla, Jessie Newman, Hanadaki Gaga, Di Hoya Jad Ad Gakyals Ki Gowe, Di Haida Ad Hiltsuk Ad KWAAGID. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessie Newman. I'm a Raven woman of the Skadans clan of the Haida Nation, and I'm Haida Hiltsuk and KWAAGID. And I grew up mainly in Skidegate and in Bella Bella. So I'm also a dietitian, as Kathleen mentioned. I've been practicing for about 7 years now, and half of that was spent working in my home community of Skidegate at our health center, and half of it has been working for the Health Authority on Vancouver Island, supporting food sovereignty and diabetes initiatives on the North Island. And today I'm going to be speaking mainly about my experiences working in diabetes, the things that I've learned and my approach to diabetes, and how that's changed throughout my career and why that's changed. And I'll also speak a bit about my motivations of getting into dietetics and becoming a dietitian. And I should mention that I'm also currently located on the homelands of the Weewakai and the Weewakam nations in the area, also known as Campbell River. So just to start, I'm gonna share my screen. I've got a little bit of a presentation here. And I've titled this presentation Good Ad KWAAGID because that was the name of the first diabetes group that I got together in Skidegate, and we all decided that it would be a really appropriate name because we really love coming together. And I feel so often in diabetes that people can really feel alone, and that when we get together, we truly are stronger together. So motivations for getting into diabetes care. This is my grandmother and my great aunt. And I actually grew up right next door to my great aunt, and I grew up just up the hill from my grandmother, and I spent so much time with my grandmother when I was younger. And they both had diabetes, and you know, they definitely had their struggles with diabetes. I think that they didn't really understand what was happening inside of their bodies. And I think they really kind of avoided healthcare and healthcare professionals due to all of the racism, of course, that exists within our systems. And just not having that understanding. And I wanted to be that person that people could feel safe coming to within the healthcare system. And so that's why diabetes really is my passion and why I really enjoy working in this field. So throughout school, I had a lot of really brilliant teachers, and there were certain things that really stuck with me. And one of the first was language. I think language is so powerful. I think language really creates our reality, and it has the power to empower people, or it can create a feeling of shame and blame, which is what I really hope to get away from in my practice. I think so often that people with diabetes think that it's their fault that they have diabetes, especially in Indigenous communities. And so that was something that I really wanted to get away from. So certain words that I really personally don't like and I don't use are diabetic. I think it can really equate a person with their condition. And I don't believe that people with diabetes are defined by their condition. And so I prefer to use people with diabetes. And I would never correct anybody in community for using the term diabetic, but because that's not my style, but it's really not a word that I personally like or use in my practice. Other things I would say are like non-compliant. I really don't like non-compliant or non-adherent. I think it's important to really work with people where they're at and focus on what they're doing well and assessing what are their motivations, their goals, what are their barriers, what are their supports, and just building on successes. And other words I don't like are testing, because I think then it's like something's good and something bad, and I prefer to use the word check. And so, because that's what we're doing when we're, you know, we're checking our numbers, we're trying to see what's going on in our body and really build on what's working. And so, and control is another word that I really don't like. I think it's pretty much impossible to always be in control with our diabetes and our numbers. And so I focus more on management and focus on what we're trying to achieve, not what we're trying to just what we're trying to build towards, which is healthy blood vessels. Not using scare tactics, not trying to instill fear in people, but more, I would say I feel like my job is really trying to create a safe environment and trying to make sure that people are making informed choices. And so always giving people, choices and yeah, mainly just focusing on where people are at and what they're ready for, and really trying to assess their barriers. And I do think that that language is really important in that. So I really wanted to touch on that to start. And then, in school and through some of the teachings of my preceptors, of course, like these determinants of health should be core in any sort of program planning. And I really like this diagram from Charlotte Lopi, who works at the University of Victoria. Everything in Black are things that she had included, and everything in red are the things that I kind of thought were important, just, growing up in community and all of the experience that I've had. I kind of wanted to focus on lateral violence. I think that's a really big issue in our communities. And, building on my title, I think, if we can get people together, I think we're stronger together. So that was really what I wanted to focus on when I first started practicing in diabetes. And so once I graduated, I moved home to Skidegate on Haida Gwaii and met with my health director, and we both had this shared vision of working in diabetes. We wanted to build a program. We knew that it was an issue in the community. And so, but we wanted to do it in a good way. And so we hosted a community dinner. We got people together. We said, what do you think good diabetes care is? What would you like to see our focus be? We created a survey, spoke to elders, what they thought would be important around this. And we got really intense, and we made some t-shirts too. And you can see down there that that our slogan was "Our food is our medicine." And I know that's something that's that I hear in all communities, and I think it's true. Food is so holistic, and so we built this program, this diabetes program, and it started off pretty small. I would say maybe at our first meeting we had about 4 people, but it slowly started to build. And just based on the engagement, we knew that people really wanted to focus on language and culture and our traditional foods. So really trying to create access around that. And we would meet monthly, and I would be pretty much directed by the group. Every class I would do an evaluation at the end. I really wanted to build on like what the group wanted, and the group also named themselves KWAAGID, and I love that name. And I do honestly think like the secret of our success, I work very closely with our community health representative, was really good food. And you can see here, like I really thought that should be a focus, because that's what really brings people together. And it was always our foods. And it wasn't just traditional knowledge. Like, yes, we would have knowledge keepers come in and there would be activities, but we would also focus a bit on Western medicine as well. So we would have like nurse practitioners come in, nurses, talking about like medications. I had another dietitian come in who was working in Masset. So it was like a really good balance. And there were some people from the community who would come in and speak, who were, you know, really successfully managing their diabetes and kind of give like some really empowering talks. So it was a really good mix, I would say, and it became quite successful in that when I left, we were having like 26 people coming in, and I really wanted to make it quite inclusive well. So it wasn't just people who had diabetes, but people who were, you know, at greater risk for diabetes. Maybe one of their parents had diabetes, or one of their partners had diabetes, and they just wanted to learn a bit more. And so the age range was quite great as well. Like I believe our youngest participant was 18, and it went all the way up to 80. Like we would have participants from the Skidegate Haida immersion program come in. That's the language program. So we would often get like quite a big group, and there was always a lot of laughing and like talking about challenges and successes. And so I truly do believe that these types of groups, getting people together, is really positive. And so these are some of the photos from our groups. You can see there, there's a photo of my friend Tessie cooking. This is when we had one of our knowledge keepers come in and talk about like harvesting seafoods or seaweeds and how to cook seaweeds. And on the left there is my version of fried bread. I never like to, you know, say people can't like have what they want, but it's always kind of nice to find a bit of a happy medium. And so that's fried bread made with half whole wheat, and there's like a tahini maple syrup concoction up there, and it was actually pretty good. And then on the side there, my friend Chrissy, who's a nurse practitioner, came in and spoke to the group. So yeah, honestly, I think the success was really creating a safe environment for people to get together and feel like they could really ask questions. And towards the end, I would say one of the things that I was most proud of was that one of our participants who felt like so shameful about having diabetes was able to actually stand up and say that she had diabetes, which was really, really amazing. And so we would do cooking demos as well, and you can see there that it actually was, there were quite a few young women who would come in, and it was so much fun. And then another part of my job that I really enjoy is working with youth. And so I actually I do go into schools quite a bit. I go into middle schools and high schools talking about diabetes, and one of the ways I've tried to make it engaging is doing food experiments. And so I will go in and check blood sugar, and I'll give out like a carbohydrate, a protein, or a fat, and I'll check their blood sugar at the end. But in between that time, I'm talking about like what's actually happening inside of their bodies. How does food affect our bodies? what is diabetes? What are some of the risks and the symptoms of diabetes? And so this is probably one of the things that I really enjoy the most, because kids really get into it, like youth really enjoy this. And they always have lots of questions, and it's kind of just my sneaky way of getting some of that information across. And I would say this is probably my favorite part of my job. And as I've transitioned into my new role, it's focused a lot more on public health. I don't actually really see clients one-on-one, but one of my focuses really wanted to be on taking an upstream approach to diabetes. And so I work within Indigenous health at our health authority. And we had a little bit of money left over at the beginning of COVID. And so I created a proposal that we should create a knowledge keepers program, because I think we really needed to honor their work. I think so often they're doing this off the side of their desks. And so I was like, well, what if we created a program where knowledge keepers from these communities, whoever wanted this, could, get elders and youth together, do a lot of land-based learning. And I just wanted people to be able to have greater access to traditional foods. That's kind of one of the focuses of my work and my practice. And so our managers were into it and created 2 positions within Vancouver Island on the North Island, and 2 of our family groups, which are the Nuu-chah-nulth and the KWAAGID. And so found 2 people. It's a pilot project. There was about $60,000 for each position. And it's partly funded by our Indigenous health program, but also by our island food hubs. And my goal was really to create as few barriers as possible for the nations, in that there really was no formal application. They don't really have to do any sort of reporting. It's kind of just an interview with me. And then in between that, I'm creating connections with the knowledge keepers and the communities, with other people within my networks who can support them, which could include getting more grants, which we've worked on. So it's not just the 60,000 from that they've been getting from our program and the food hubs, but there's a lot of money right now, especially after COVID, for Indigenous food sovereignty work. And so this is Christy on the left, and she works within a community called Sakana. And then on the right there, you can see those are 2 youth who are involved with the program with the KWAAGID. And so just to elaborate on that, so I mentioned that one of the positions was in Sakana, and it's focused a little bit more on the community garden. And so it's been super successful. It's important to note though that a lot of this work was happening before we actually were able to support the program. And so they already kind of had this vision, and I saw it and I loved it, and really wanted us to be able to support. And so it's a small community, I would say about maybe 200 people. And the community garden is located at this hub, kind of where the health center and the band office, and there's a preschool located in this building, and the garden is right behind it. And they call it the Friendship Community Garden. And it's been an amazing place for people to come together, a safe place during COVID. Really brought a lot of youth and elders together. And so you can see they're harvesting potatoes on the left, and there's really a focus for culture in this program as well. And one of the amazing things that Christy created was a community pantry. And so She's really into like jarring and preserving foods as well. And so this is located in the Elders Building, and it's a place where anybody in the community can go and access foods. And then this is just another view of the pantry as well. So I've been like super blown away by the work that she's done. It's been quite amazing. And then within with the other position, it was the knowledge keeper that was chosen was a younger man named Luke, who I think was in his maybe late 30s. And the focus was more on cultural mentorship. And this was with a group called the Wheatlala in the community of Yalis, also known as Alert Bay. And so the Wheatlala are a group of displaced nations, and they were kind of placed on the territory of another nation. And they're also about maybe 200 in number. It's a very small community, but they really decided that they wanted to focus more on cultural mentorship. And so there were some like middle school or high school students that were chosen. And he really like took them out on field trips, like hunting and fishing, but it wasn't just him. Like you can see that there were some other guys from the community. So everybody would get together and they would go out harvesting foods. And so some of the trips that they took were prawn fishing. And one of their focuses was really trying to go back to what they said were the old ways in having like the men going out together and getting the foods and then coming back, and then the women would like clean it and take care of it and preserve it. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Again, like there aren't really guidelines to this money as long as the communities feel that they can focus on like their wellness initiatives and their goals around like food security and food sovereignty. They can do whatever they want. And so another trip that they took were going out for herring and kind of looking at the conditions of when is its spawn time and putting out the branches for the herring eggs. And then they went out for Ulukin as well. And the whole community really benefits from this, which is amazing. And so, like I mentioned, it's a really small community. And there were only about 200 people. So whenever the guys would go out, everybody would benefit from this. And this program was just recently expanded in that another New Chalmers community will be getting the money. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. But these two programs have been so successful in my mind, and it's amazing what just a little bit of money can do. And I think, and just giving each nation like that self-determining power to do whatever they want with the money as well. I think that's what has really contributed to the success. So I think that's kind of the end. I think I only had a half an hour, but I just wanted to end with some of these photos from youth from the Sakana Garden. And with that, I'm just going to say Hawa, Gelakasla, Gayasaka. And if there is any time left, I'd be happy to answer any questions around that.
Thank you so much, Jessie. That's also Margarita James thanking you.
Hi, Margarita. It's been a long time.
Yeah, hi, Jessie. Thank you again. It is an awesome garden.
It's so amazing.
Yeah, it is. We're just getting ready to plant here soon. Christy's going to come up and help sort that out with the kids that always support the work there, and it's just awesome. It's really nice. We're having actually a garden blessing for one of the ladies that was really supportive in our wellness and healthy journey here at Sahana. She passed away last year, a while back. But anyway, thank you again. It's really fabulous that you support, that you continue to support healthy eating here and at Sahana and all of New Charlotte and just everywhere. Yeah. Thank you, Jessie. Chu?
I'm happy to do it. I'm like so inspired by everything that's going on in the community.
Good. Chu?